Brought to you by Tony Morrow Collision Center. Yes, Lou is on vacation, but we're still bringing you everything happening when it comes to motor sports. So thank you for joining us this morning. And thank you to Jerry Van Sickle, announcer for Boone Speedway and one of the main guys helping to run Super Nationals that just wound up this past Saturday. Thanks for joining us and kind of filling in for Lou this morning and telling us what happened with motorsports over the past week.
I can't believe Lou took a vacation after such a big weekend.
He doesn't do it very often, but we're happy he was able to take some time off. But catch us up on what happened with motorsports over the weekend.
Oh, what a great weekend it was. And, you know, with the Super Nationals, of course, there was some other racing going on, and we'll kind of cover that before we get into our guests that we've got with us here today. A couple feature winners for our championship events. But a great week at the Boone Speedway. Of course, record number of car count. We're up cars this year. The fans were great. The racing was superb. But let's take a look at, before we get into that, some of the other stuff that we had going on. As the Xfinity Series for NASCAR was in, and Chase Elliott, for the first time in 11 years, 22 races winner, wasn't repeating a Sprint Cup driver. Kyle Busch comes second. Brian Scott was third. Joey Logano fourth, and Eric Jones in fifth. And of course, you see the asterisks there, racers that have been involved or have been on Great Day here. With that, with the Xfinity drivers, of course, they were in Virginia at the Richmond International Raceway this weekend.
Other great races we want to cover. If we go to the next graphic, here we go. How about the NASCAR Sprint Cup? Sprint
Cup drivers, Matt Kenseth. He led, as you can see there, 352 laps of the 400. Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Eric Almirola, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. Top five finish there at the Richmond International Raceway in the Federated Auto Parts 400, part of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series.
And next?
Taking a look at the Chase, Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Busch, Matt Kenseth, Joey Logano, and Kevin Harvick, all in the chase for the Sprint Cup as things are getting closer, as they are only about getting ready to reset those things. And should be good there for the NASCAR boys to get things going there and their chase for their championship.
Some of the big national races, but of course we want to talk local as well, and there were some other local tracks besides Super Nationals running.
Oh, down the Warren County race, or the Warren County Speedway down there, Indianola, front wheel drives, Matt Poole with the win down there. Cruisers, Blake H. and Rachel S. took that. The trucks was Martin's. Combo and seniors, Don Waters picked that up. Hobby stocks, Justin Brand. Nick Runyon, the pro stocks. The opens was Casey McCassin, and the micro spins went to Kelb Watt. At the Warren County Speedway, the front wheel drive cars, Matt Poole, look there, Blake Henry and Rachel Schrader, they picked up another cruiser win. Jake Neri in the trucks. Don Waters again in the combo senior class. The hobby stocks was Phil Castellano, Nick Runyon in the pro stocks, and Don Waters won the open division down there. And then, of course, 876 cars over 6 days of racing at Iowa's Action Track, the IMCA Speedway Motors Super Nationals, presented by Casey's. And, of course, we started off with our big event on Friday night, the 2015 Fast Chefs All-Star Invitational, and Jimmy Gustin picked up the win from Marshalltown, Iowa. Jordan Grabowski from Nebraska was second. Kyle Strickler from North Carolina. Ryan Ritter and Jason Walla, your top five in the Fast Chefs All-Star Invitational race. Going to the modified race of champions, it was Dustin Smith, and that race came right down to the end. Ron Lauritsen, Kurt Lund, Kelly Shryock, and Regan Tafoya, your top five there. Moving on to the stock car, the Sunoco Stock Car Race of Champions, it was Kevin Opheim in an exciting finish over Stockton, Kansas driver Chad Sterling, Kyle Vanover, Chad Palmer, and David Smith, your top five. Moving on to the BSB, or the Hobby Stock Race of Champions, it was Miles McHale from Fort Dodge, Shannon Anderson, Andy Roller, Aaron Rudolph, and Austin Browner, your top five in that run. Taking a look at the Sport Mods, it was Lucas Lambries, a 16-year-old racer out of Clintonville, Wisconsin, with the win. Clint Llewellyn, who we'll talk about a little bit later in the review, second. Danny Dvorak, Brandon Tofty, and Kyle Preiner, top five finishers in those events. Moving on to our big dances. Here's the start of our IMCA Hobby Stock event, and what a show this was. Every feature came right down to the end of the wire. Of course, you see John Watson out there later. John had led most of this event as they take the green off of turn 4 on a late race restart on just a beautiful prepared racetrack. Most of it, a lot of times 2 and 3 wide race, and you see there Watson out there, Andrew Berg working to the outside. He would work race or eventual race winner there, the 27 car. as they come off of there. And the hobby stock champion was Jason Wilkinson of Nelhi, Nebraska. Andrew Berg, who did have the lead for a little bit, took the second place. Brandon Nielsen of Spencer, Iowa, third. John Watson, fourth from Des Moines. And Avoca, Iowa's Corey Madden rounded out the top 5. In the sport mods, you see leader Clint Llewellyn on a late race restart after we went red flag. Jonathan Logue, defending champion, in tow. Jonathan had led that race most of the way. Nick Meyer from Whittemore, a very great driver with 4 track championships this year behind his belt. You see Lucas Lambries there in the 4th spot as they all chase Clint Llewellyn, as Logue made a late race charge but was going to come up a little too short as they come to the white flag. Final time around, Nick Meyer and Jonathan Logue all trying to get to that Razor chassis, the 3L of Llewellyn, but nothing was going to be any better than the move right off the top. You see Logue slides it on in, the old crossover on the slider, and down to the twin checkers. Clint Llewellyn, your 2015 IMCA Sport Mod Super Nationals champion from Minburn. Jonathan Logue from Boone was second. Nick Meyer from Whittemore third. Fourth was Lucas Lambries, and Daniel Gottschalk from Ellis, Kansas, rounding out the top 5. Taking a look at stock car champion Dustin Larson from Worthington, Minnesota. Mike Nichols from Harlan was second. Third was Chris Mills of Sioux City, Iowa. Fourth went to Jeffrey Larson of Lakefield, Minnesota. And fifth was Lynn Panish out of Calamar. In our 2-time back-to-back Super Nationals champion, Kyle Strickler of Mooresville, North Carolina. Dylan Smith from Osceola, Nebraska was second. Ricky Thornton Jr. from Chandler, Nebraska. Third. Fourth went to Jordan Grabowski from Beatrice, and Adam Larson from Ames, Iowa goes home in the number 5 spot.
All right, being the announcer and the man who does the interviews on the track every Saturday night in Boone, but also Super Nationals, introduce us to some great guests we have with us today.
To my left, we saw him here a year ago, Kyle Strickler, your modified champion, and over here to our right there, the Sport Mod champion from just down the road in Minburn. It took him a long time to get here, Clint Llewellyn. And guys, welcome to the Great Day Race Review.
Great to be back.
So you guys just finished up a big week of racing. What's it feel like to be back here and having another trophy on your belt?
This is neat to be back here just because racing is so huge in Iowa here and so far away from me, but it's such a big part of my racing career is the IMCA stuff, and to win this race not only once but to do it back to back. There's only one other person, John Logue, that's won it back to back, so still hasn't really sunk in yet. It's just such an enormous event, and to win it back to back is just it's absolutely unbelievable yet.
And Kyle, we've talked in the past over a couple times in just chatting at trailers and stuff. You've won some big money shows. You've won some high shows like that. You've done some racing, but you've said coming to the Super Nationals is far different. I mean, it's not about the money; it's the prestige and the coverage that you get out of this event, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean it's it's nothing else like it. I mean it's a nationally recognized event, and with the NASCAR involvement that I have and the people that I know in the motorsports industry, it's just ridiculous to see the response that we get after winning this race. And I think last year when we won it, I had over 100 text messages, and I still haven't made it through my phone this year yet to get back to everybody. And it's still, like I said, hasn't necessarily even sunk in yet. It's by far my biggest career accomplishment so far.
Exactly. Clint, I tell you, I mean, being local, we don't see it Boone a lot, but when you do come to Boone, you're always a force to be reckoned with. But you've had in the Sport Mod division, I mean, you've had a great career. I mean, you've got numerous track championships. I mean, numerous wins. Tell us about, walk us through the deal there, because Jonathan Logue, it looked like he had that thing hands down. I mean, what was the key or the moment when you knew that was that was going to be your event and you were going to stand on that stage?
Yeah, the beginning of the race, I just tried to, just maintain myself a little bit, hold myself together, and keep my tires underneath me. Make sure I had something to finish with. We set up to finish strong, and Logue's always a good competitor there weekly. Along with Nick Meyer, runs there quite a bit too. So those guys kind of shot out at the beginning, and I thought I will get a caution, just let this thing kind of ride out here. And about lap 19 or 20 there, we stayed green, and I was wondering if we were even going to get one, if we were going to go green to checkered. And in the mud, not so great, so I was kind of waiting for it to get tacky, and then it kind of finally got dry slick, and we had a caution. And one time I felt my car just kind of kick out a little bit on me, and I thought, oh boy, here we go. And most of them races have been won on the top side, it seemed like, for the most part. So I wanted to be that first guy up there and you know, make it happen. And when I felt it kind of slick off, we kind of moved up a little bit and got some momentum underneath us and made it happen.
You know, we talk about the Sport Mod division being a very competitive class. I mean, 109, there's over 180 Sport Mods that you had to compete against. Kyle had to compete against 273 other modified drivers that were there. You know, when we look at that deal, you know, the Sport Mods, there has not been a repeat winner of that event. You are now another one-time champion of the Sport Mods. The only one that could have done it that was in the feature was Jonathan Logue. Everybody else has either moved out of that division or has not made the show. And that's kind of a neat deal, and it shows the competitiveness of that Sport Mod division and what it does and what it is because anybody in that feature could have won that night, couldn't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, there wouldn't have been a better person to be around than Jonathan Logue and Nick Meyer too, coming down to the final laps. Like I said, Jonathan runs there weekly, good friends with him and Nick, and we knew it was going to get hairy at the end, but we knew we were going to totally smash each other up and not finish either. So that's what made it fun.
Yeah. Colin, you made some comment about your involvement with some of the you know, the Cup drivers, the NASCAR drivers. Of course, you run a lethal chassis. David Stremme, former Sprint Cup racer, actually builds that car down in North Carolina.
Yeah, and it was his first year coming out to Super Nationals, and really didn't have a lot of involvement with IMCA racing at all until this year, and I kind of talked him into it and kind of been showing him light to see how great IMCA racing really is. And this year especially, I mean, the races came down right to the end there, and last year, you know, how we wanted, we were kind of stretching it out, and it wasn't that exciting of a race. This year it came down to the wire, and David Stremme really enjoyed coming out there and seeing the whole deal, and there's nothing else like it. So you can talk about it all day long, but until you go out there and actually experience it and see what it's all about all week long, and then the amount of people and cars, just the sheer numbers of it is incredible and unbelievable, and there's nothing else like it in the country. I mean, it's not the biggest paying race, but it's by far the biggest race as far as car counts and people that are involved.
There you go. Congratulations to a couple of our champions from Super Nationals. If you want to experience it, you're going to have to wait a year, folks. Sorry to hear that, but congratulations on getting that trophy. Always amazing to see the size of that thing. Jerry Van Sickle, your weekly announcer at Boone Speedway, but also a big man in charge of Super Nationals as well, as one of the announcers you could have heard all week long, but you can still hear him on Saturday nights up at Boone Speedway for a little bit longer anyway.
Yes, so we're done at Boone. We'll be at Marshalltown for the World Nationals this weekend.
All right, there is your Monday morning race review. Thanks for joining us, and thanks to Tony Morrow from Collision Center for sponsoring that segment. We'll be right back, finishing up your 6 o'clock hour here on Great Day on KCW.